All right, guys. So be sure to give this video a like and share it with your friends. Before we go live, we'll be going live in a couple of minutes, if not sooner. So stay put.
Edson. Hello? Yeah, give me a second, That's weird. My phone... a second. Alright, cool. There, can you hear me? Fantastic. Okay, my phone was doing a weird thing with some music, but... okay, cool. I'm good, man, whenever you are. Fantastic.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Down in the Valley, episode number 14 to y'all. My name is Edson Ochoa. I am your host for Down in the Valley, obviously, and broadly brought to you by the Beautiful Game Network. Be sure to check them out on Twitter at the BGN.fm. Check out the website at bgn.fm, as well as check out other USL podcasts like the Backchat Show, USL Show, Sock Takes, and many others that are really high quality. So be sure to, if you like USL or American soccer in general, be sure to check them out. And speaking of the Backchat Show, we are proud to say that we have, as a special guest today, we have Mark Turner from the Backchat Show, which is Colorado Springs podcast. On today to talk about this weekend's game between RGVFC and the Colorado Springs Switchbacks. So, Mark, how are you?
Hey, Edson, I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me on the show today.
Yeah, no problem, man. It's always a pleasure to have a guest on tonight to talk about soccer and everything in between. So, I guess first thing is first, how has the Colorado Springs Switchbacks been doing so far?
It's been an interesting start to the season. We had a rough year last year. I think that's well documented. We ended up missing out on the playoffs for the first time in our history, albeit narrowly, but still came up short. Mm-hmm. And so the focus on recruitment in the off-season. I know the coaches were anxious to bring in the right, both in terms of skill, ability, experience, and also mindset as well, to ensure that the team that we put on the field this year was more bonded, more cohesive than last season's. Yeah. And generally speaking, it has looked that way. Generally speaking, the guys appear to be together. There seems to be a real oneness. Mm-hmm. They come together as a unit really quickly, but for right now at least, that's not translating into results. We're 3 games into the season, and currently only 1 victory to our name, and only 1 goal from open play. The other goal coming from the penalty spot. So it's a bit of a mixed bag.
Yeah, it's never good when the results aren't going as well as you thought, because even though it is early in the season, but one as a fan expects to come out with better results, especially when you were we were both kind of lackluster last year. We know we talked about last season when we went to go visit you all over there. That was way back when I was barely starting with a podcast style kind of thing. I don't know if you remember, but it was actually the second game that we played against y'all that season, where we won in a really, really weird and boring 1-0.
I remember it well. It was a very odd game, and I remember your podcast being in its infancy. It's certainly grown in the meantime, so congrats on that.
Thank you. But yeah, I look at for example, the history between our two teams when we play against each other, and I feel like it's been more equal than what the results say, because in our history we've played 4 times against you all, and we've won all 4. But for the most part, they've been pretty close, except for I think the one against the first one where Memo scored. I think he scored a brace that game.
Yeah, I mean, I do appreciate you saying that. I think you're being very generous. I don't think there's been a million miles between our two teams, but I think when it has a 4-0 record, you have to concede, as the team with the O, that the team with 4 has just been better than you.
Yes.
The margins between our teams have been fairly narrow, but I think you could say that in most cases about just about any two teams in the USL. From season to season, we know there have been high watermark teams. We know last year the Monarchs, killed everybody. We know OKC had a really strong team, although only just about scraped into the playoffs. But outside of there are a couple of exceptions to the rule, I think most of the other teams, particularly in the Western Conference, tend to be very close. So I think Saturday promises to be another of those close contests. It certainly would be nice for the Switchbacks to be able to get a 1 instead of a 0.
Yes. Yeah. So looking at our history, so the first game we ever played, that was back in was it August 21st, 2016. We won 2-0, and that was away. And then back at home, we won 2-1. And I think it was a week right after. So we won 2-1 again. And then last year's the first one was 3-1 at our home at HB Park. And then we played that game that we talked about, which is that 1-0 game that I felt should have been a tie. But, it was just, I believe it was a penalty that made the difference that last game.
Yeah, and I think the margins between our two teams have been narrow, but I think they've also been significant in that the difference for you every time we have contested a game has been that little bit of additional quality, that little bit of certainly on one of the occasions you had more than your fair share of luck, but we've always had that edge in terms of quality. And it's interesting about the history that binds us. Of course, there is a common link in this weekend's game in the form of Taylor Hunter,
yes,
who I know 23, 24 appearances for you guys last year, and after a short loan spell with the Switchbacks in 2015, has returned to the Switchbacks this year on a season-long loan. And obviously, I don't have to tell you and your listeners that Taylor is total quality. I mean, he is, quite frankly, to my mind, he is MLS quality. Maybe not an MLS starter, but certainly wouldn't look out of place in an MLS roster. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if players like Hunter and one or two of the other additions that we've made in the off-season, if that can maybe give us the quality we need to finally turn the tide.
Yeah, actually, that was actually one of the players that I was surprised that the Dynamo decided not to renew, at least with a USL contract for the Toros. I know that they were looking for Taylor Hunter to be the future of the Dynamo backline, but I guess they thought that it wasn't enough for them, or at least for Wilmer Cabrera's vision of the Houston Dynamo. But honestly, I'm glad that he went back to the Switchbacks, basically more than anything because he's back near his hometown.
Yeah, that's exactly right. He's He's a Denver boy. Actually, he's from Aurora, I believe, which is just east of Denver, just as a suburb of Denver. But came through the college system here and seems very settled back in Colorado and seems very, very settled in our back line. He stepped into a centre-back position, which I believe is a position that your listeners will be more used to seeing him in. During his first spell with the Switchbacks, we actually saw him at fullback. He was, I believe he was pitched in at left back with George Burt at right back, if memory serves. That was 3 years ago, so I'm struggling to remember 3 days ago, my friends, not alone 3 years ago. But now he seems to have transitioned to this more central defensive role, and he just looks incredibly composed. I mean, I can't remember him making a mistake in the first 3 games. It's possible he has, and they've been very minor. Certainly nothing that's contributed to opposition goals. And just his composure on the ball, his distribution, his vision, his awareness. He really is an exceptional player.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's sad to see him go, but good to see him over there back with y'all. I know last year when we talked, that was one of the players that you're like, treat him well, because he was really one of the players that really left a mark with his first time at over there in Colorado. So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So how would you describe Colorado's play in these last 3 games?
Well, the coaches at the end of last season and during the off-season as well spoke to the fact that they wanted this team to get back to its roots. They tried to develop a more entertainment-based, kind of technical flair-orientated team last season, and it didn't pan out. And I know that they were still like that. They were still like a team that entertains, that handles the ball really well, that transitions through the 3/3 of the field with great pace and everything. And we all want to see that. But at its core, the Switchbacks have always been known for being a gritty, blue-collar kind of team. And that seems to be what we've gotten this season. The recruitment, the way the team has been set up, we certainly are more aggressive at home. We're more offensively ambitious at home than we are on the road. The team plays with a little reservation. Getting back behind the ball, getting our shape is a priority, and just digging in and making it hard for the opposition to get a foothold in the game. And of course, when you're playing at altitude, the longer you can stay in a game, the harder you can make the opposition work. The more conditioned you are to that altitude, as the Switchbacks are, the more likely you are to be able to pick up any slack in the final 20-25 minutes of a game when you really need to turn the screw and get the result.
Yeah. So do you feel like, so what you've seen, they really have gone back to their roots, or is it still like work in progress?
I think the foundations are quite clearly very, very similar to what we saw in 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
But I think they are a work in progress. I think you put that nicely. The component parts look really good. Taylor and Tambay and Saeed Robinson returning to the team, and just maybe. I mean, the component parts look good, but as far as the team as a whole, they're still a work in progress. I mean, they've come together. I think from a personality perspective, they've come together.
Oh, excuse me. Hold on.
Really well bonded in terms of personality. They seem to get on really well. There seems to be a good sense of camaraderie. There's none of the friction that we saw last season. But in terms of the actual team, they're coming together as a unit and delivering results. That's still a work in progress.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's anytime you want to implement something else, it takes time for the players to get used to it, for the coach to kind of get into the players' heads, to convince them that their new style, or the new style of play they're trying to implement, will work. So far, so you've mentioned good things about your defenders, especially Taylor Hunter. But I'm seeing the results that you've had so far. and it hasn't been really been that bad. And I know you're probably going to say that I'm putting it nicely, but I mean, you've only lost 1-0 against St. Louis and against, if I'm not mistaken, Portland Timbers too. But you defeated 2-0 against LA Galaxy too. What has been really, is it really the attack that has kind of come up lacking, besides the first game?
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. I mean, I think our defence and our defensive midfielders look pretty solid. We dominated the Galaxy game, which was kind of a surprise because the Galaxy always put out a good team. And even though we have beaten them in the past, they've always been really close games. And I think we have been somewhat fortunate most of the time against Galaxy. We had one game where we were clearly on top. But the opening game of the season, we were certainly the better team. Against Portland Timbers, we were very unfortunate. We bossed that game. We owned possession, which we typically never do. Mm-hmm. The Switchbacks are a counter-attacking team, so to dominate possession was surprising. We also had the most shots on target. We simply didn't convert, and the Timbers got lucky with a counter-attack with just a few minutes to go. The St. Louis result, again, it's disappointing in that that's a game. It's always hard to win on the road, but there are some teams that you think are more beatable, even at their place, than others. Mm-hmm. And being disrespectful to St. Louis, I felt like we really could have gotten something out of that game. Our attack came up short in that game, as it did, one could argue, in the Timbers game. Even though, again, we had most of the shots, we had most of the possession, the reality is we didn't hit the back of the net. So in the second game, it could be argued that part of that was the fact we were missing two of our starting forwards. Shane Malcolm called up by Guam, and so was on international duty, and Syed Robinson was serving a one-game suspension. Mm-hmm. So we actually had two of our three forward players missing from that game. That being said, the guys who came in and replaced them are more than capable of scoring. So we do want to see a little bit more out of our offense, for sure. But I think with the players we have, they're definitely capable of putting up numbers.
Yeah. So what do you think it will be the key for the Colorado Switchbacks to get the result from Rio Grande Valley?
So I'll tell you the area of the field that I think concerns me the most, and I think if we can do something in this area of the field, that could be the key, to use your words. And this might surprise you and your listeners a little bit, given that we've talked about the defense, we've talked about the offense. Honestly, my concern is more the midfield. In 2015, the Switchbacks had their first season. We had this incredible midfield that was Shintaro Harada, Ronnie Argueta, and Luke Procaloni. And we got lucky. We got three guys who independently were high quality and who collectively bonded. And our central midfield, I would have put them up against any central midfield in the USL, East or West, that season. We've struggled ever since then. Never more so, I think, than this year. And I don't want to do the guys a disservice because we have a lot of new signings. We still probably haven't seen the best of some of those guys, and they're still getting used to one another. But I haven't seen us really control and certainly not dominate a midfield battle so far this season yet. Even the Galaxy game. The Galaxy game was really more hung on fast transition from back to front and getting the ball to our forwards where they could do damage as quickly as possible. The game didn't really filter through the midfield as much as other games. So I really want to see the Switchbacks get a hold of that central midfield. I want to see them win that central midfield battle. And I think if we can do that, our defence looks good. We have more than enough firepower up top to take advantage of the chances that are created. But for me, the key is that central midfield. What about you? What do you think? You've seen some of the Switchbacks, maybe not this year, but previous years. You're obviously very familiar with your own team. Mm-hmm. Where do you see the key area for this weekend's game?
Honestly, from what I've seen this season from the Toros, since it's pretty much almost a brand new roster, so I can't really go by what last season brought because we have a new coach, new players, and but I feel that for the Toros, the wings are going to be very, very important. Whoever starts in the wing positions, whether it's Chuy Enriquez, whether it's John Montaño or Zach Wright, or maybe even Victor Garza. But I think whatever they can do out on the wings will prove to be the difference this game against against you all. Granted, let's see how they react with the temperatures as well as the altitude over there in Colorado Springs, because that, believe it or not, a lot of people might want to belittle it, but that does play a factor in the athletic performance, especially in soccer. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. So the players you just mentioned, they're more offensively minded. So clearly you're looking at what they can bring to the offense and
yes.
whether they can create opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
Do your wing players typically also, are they asked to drop in? Are they asked to do some of the defensive work? How do you think you're going to counter a switchbacks formation that typically consists of 3 forwards?
If anything, I would say if that does happen, you start seeing Colorado switchbacks starting to kind of push on the attack with those 3 forwards. You might see a lot more of Victor Garza, because last season he played as a left back. So if he does start as in the wing, he might probably be told to go down and help out Derek Luke in the defense if needed. I mean, you already have your 4 defenders, which are Kai Green, Kyle Adams, or Omar Ontiveros, Connor Donovan, Derek Luke, and then you have your 2 defensive midfielders, which are Todd Warden, and last game Jorginho James started with. Both of them tend to be more defensive-minded. So if push comes to shove, they might see Victor Garza be the one that has a little bit of sacrifice. I don't really see John Mortaño or Zach Wright or Chuy Enriquez have the same sacrifice as Victor Garza does. So we might see that. I think another aspect that Colorado switchbacks may take advantage of would be the last 15 minutes of the game, because from what we've seen these past 2 games, RGV tends to kind of let off the gas defensively, and they start losing their concentration, and we end up losing in both games against St. Louis and again this past one against Sacramento. We were winning, and they took the win away from us, and we ended up just rescuing a tie. So that might be something that Colorado might take advantage of. If they push those last 10-15 minutes and dominate the attack against our defenders, you might see something. You might see a goal coming in those minutes.
And I think that's what makes it so interesting whenever our teams play is there are so many moving parts. There's so many different ways that it can go. I think there's quality throughout both rosters, but like I said in the past, I felt like your quality is trumped ours. So assuming this weekend hangs on quality again, it hangs on a moment or a couple of moments of inspiration, and that ends up being the difference. Which player or players are you going to put your money on as being those game winners? And I'll give you an answer for the switchbacks also.
I would, if Pablo Aguilar plays, he might be the one, and he plays in the middle. But he tends to go out a little bit on the attack whenever he plays. It's either him or maybe even Chuy Enriquez.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, good picks. Very good picks. For the switchbacks, I'm going to give you 2 names as well. I think AJ Ajikwa has started the season really, really well. Wicked fast, very direct. Tenacious, just an annoying player for defenders to have to deal with. Mm-hmm. He scored that candidate for goal of some people were saying goal of the season, but certainly goal of the week, opening game of the season. And there's more even yet to come from him. And the other is Jordan Burt, who your listeners probably know as a fullback, and maybe are thinking, well, hang on a second. Yeah, he's an offensive fullback, he's an attacking fullback, but game winner? He scored a lot of goals for us last season from fullback, and coaches have subsequently moved him into midfield this season. And albeit from the penalty spot, he has already opened up his goal-scoring account this year. So Jordan Burt definitely can pop up and score. He's a big guy. He can score off corners, he's very, very adept with his feet as well. So I would expect one or both of those guys to contribute to any victory that we might have this weekend.
Yeah, that sounds like a really interesting player. And Burt, if you say that he got moved to the midfield, that gives him a higher, I guess you can say, higher freedom, more freedom for him to help out on the attack rather than being limited because he has to stay back and defend and occasionally go out and attack. And so that might be, if you say that he has that prowess, that he scored goals for you last season, that might be somebody that either Todd Warden or Jorginho or whoever is placed in that center defensive midfielder is going to have to keep an eye out and not leave him out of their sights. So,
yeah, I think so.
All right, Mark. So, do you have anything else you wanna talk about? Whether predictions, or about the game, or about the stadium in general that you would like our fans to know?
I don't think so. It's my new resolution not to do predictions because I did so horribly with them last year. The best I will give you is a confidence rating about whether I'm confident the Switchbacks will get something out of this game. You guys have been our hoodoo team. As we've talked about, it's been really hard for us to get anything out of you. I think our time has come. So I'm confident that we'll get something out of this game. With it being a home game, I'd like to think we're going to take all the marbles. But I guess time will tell. And no, I have nothing else to say. I have to get off the phone with you because, as you know, in a couple of minutes, the Switchbacks kick off against Swope Park. And I need to have my eyeballs on that game.
Yeah, well, that's actually going to be pretty interesting because now we're going to have to see how the Switchbacks are going to handle their roster and to handle 2 games in 1 week. So hopefully they don't come because you have traveling to do as well as the actual match fitness in the game. So it'll be interesting to see maybe, if they kind of, I guess you can say, rotate their squad well, you might not see it affected as much. But if they don't, you might see some tired legs out there. So that's another thing that we might have to take into consideration for Saturday's game. But,
Absolutely.
And what you said, that it might be your time, it's, as they say, the longer a streak lasts, it's the sooner that it's gonna be broken. So best of luck to both teams. Obviously, I'm going to be rooting for my Toros. I think that it should be time that we actually get a win this season. It'll do good for both of us. But as you say, the Switchbacks need that win as well. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be a tie. This time. So.
Let's hope for a good game. Good luck, my friend.
All right. Good luck to you too. Good luck against Swope Park as well. And hope to have you back on the next time that we meet up.
That sounds great. Look forward to it. Thanks so much for having me on the show.
All right. Not a problem. Thank you. All right, guys. So that was Mark Turner from the Backchat show. Sorry, whoever called during the interview. Sorry, I couldn't answer. Obviously, because we were talking through Skype as well. So now we'll go ahead and have the phone lines open. So if you guys want to give your opinions about RGVFC, how you feel they've done in these past 2 games, be sure to call us. Call the number. It's right there at the bottom of your screen. It's 956-622-5977. Be sure to call us and give your opinion. We'd love to hear what you have to say about the team. Whether you're a Dynamo fan, looking at to see what the future for the Dynamo holds. Whether you're an RGVFC fan or if you're a San Antonio fan like Harry, who are always going to be welcome here, man. Especially Harry. But when we come back, we're going to go on a quick break. But when we come back, we'll start talking about the RGV versus Sacramento game. We'll talk about the results, what I thought happened, and we'll go into depth with some analysis of the most important highlights of that game. So don't leave yet. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Down in the Valley. Oh, I totally forgot to turn on the lights. All right, I'll get to that eventually. So, welcome back. I just want to go ahead and say hi to everybody who has participated in the chat so far. Thank you so much for giving me the attention for this live stream. Hope you all enjoy it. So I want to say hi to, obviously, to Carson Merck. So be sure to check out his article on Dynamo Theory, The Bull and Its Horns. He just released this article pertaining to the Sacramento match. It's a really good read, and obviously I also received a shout out. Down in the Valley received a shout out from him. So thank you very much, Carson, for that. I want to say hi to Blues Fan, who is here for the music, and obviously for Harry. Thank you for tuning in today. I'm sure you like it. Like I said, the phone lines are open. So if you guys want to give me your thoughts on the air about the RGVFC game between Sacramento, or what do you expect from RGV against the Switchbacks? What do you think about the team so far? Do you see if it has potential? Do you think that they're going to be kind of lackluster? I want to hear your thoughts as well. This is. I wanted to know what the Valley thinks about our team. So, Cesar, hey Cesar, how are you doing? Yeah, you made it, man. So hold on, whatever. All right, so let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the Sacramento match. We had 5 changes in the lineup between the home opener against St. Louis FC and the game against Sacramento, and a couple of them were surprising because, for example, you saw that players who I thought did well, like Pablo Aguilar, ended up on the bench. But however, after the game, and we'll go ahead and talk about that later. It was made known by Edson Ochoa that he was actually injured. He received an injury during the week, and so he was nursing that. And so apparently he only was able to make 3 practices during the past week before, and so that's why he didn't start in the game. Other noticeable differences in the lineup was that you see players like Victor Garza, Aldo Quintanilla, as well as Omar Ontiveros and John Montaño made the starting 11. Obviously, you had players like Zach Wright. Surprisingly, Kyle Adams was another one of the players that was sacrificed in order to have Omar Ontiveros play. Obviously, Pablo Aguilar, like I said, Zach Wright. Chuy Enriquez also was sacrificed to let Victor Garza start, and Aldo Quintanilla went in place of Delgado. So, it's awesome to see these 3 homegrown players, make the cut and become starters. And honestly, they did pretty well. They did pretty well during the game. Aldo Quintanilla was actually apart, surprisingly, compared to Delgado, who pretty much, como dicen, like they say in Spanish, pasó desapercibido. You didn't really see much out of Delgado in the first game, but Aldo Quintanilla was actually very, very active during the game. He was the one who had the penalty called in favor of, and also he set up the assist to Jorginho James in the second goal. Like I was actually telling Mark, I think one of the biggest disadvantages that I see from this Toros is the fact that they kind of let off the gas in the last minutes of the game. They get too confident and they stop pressuring like they do. They cede the initiative to the other team, whether it's St. Louis, whether it's Sacramento, and so they end up losing the 2 valuable points against these teams where you could have gotten the win. You could have had a perfect streak so far with 6 points out of 2 games. So Coach Echeverri really needs to work on that with his players. Although honestly, for example, time management, like he said, it's not really something that can technically be taught. It's just something that with experience, a player starts to understand what he needs to do to be able to hacer tiempo, keep yourself on the ground for a little bit, things like that. Kind of stretch the rules in your favor to try to get some extra seconds out of this game. And Gerson Echeverry mentioned that is something that the majority of these players lack. But that's because a lot of these players are barely getting their first professional minutes under their belt, so they don't know this. He mentions as well in the interview that I'll play in a little bit. He mentions that some of these players think that they're still in college, and in college you can pretty much try to go up against like 3-4 defenders and try to dribble your way around them. Whereas in the USL, in the professional level, you're going up against players that maybe they're not as quick, but they're more alert. They have a lot of experience under their belt, and they're able to play with your emotions, with trying to get yourself desperate, and you end up not doing things as you should have. And so they'll use kind of like excessive force per se to try to get you off balance, to take the ball away from you. Also, they're going to be playing with bending the rules as much as the referee allows them. And that's what these young players need to understand about that, is that this isn't college. This is the professionals. These are the pros. So I want to hear your opinions, guys. Give us a call if you guys want to be on the air. And let me know what y'all think of. We got 5 people watching right now. Be sure to leave a like. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and share the video with your friends. They'd like to talk about soccer. That way you can understand. Actually, this is actually getting super dark. Let me go ahead and turn on the light. I'll be right back. All right, there we go. I think that is much better. So, anyways, I talked a little bit about the game, what my thoughts on the results of what has been going on so far with the RGV Toros. So let's go ahead and go. I'll mention the actual. Let there be light. Yes, sir. Now there is light. So let's go ahead and talk about the starting 11 for this game. We had Nico Cordy in the goalkeeper spot again. Kai Green as a right back. Derek Luke as a left back. Connor Donovan and Omar Ontiveros were both center backs. Then you had 2 defensive midfielders with Jorginho James as well as Todd Warden. Then you had John Montano on the right wing, and Victor Garza on the left. Matias Saldivar as the attacking midfielder behind Aldo Quintanilla, who was the striker. In the bench, we had Matt Sanchez, Kyle Adams, Manny Padilla, Pablo Aguilar, Jesus Enriquez, Jordan Jones, and Zach Wright. Sacramento played with Josh Cohen on goal, Hayden Partain, Shannon Gomez, Cole Seiler, Mitchell Tainter in the defense. Adam Moffett, who is used to be with the Houston Dynamo, so I'm pretty sure all you Dynamo fans that are out there probably remember his name with those Moffett Rockets. Then he had Kevin Aleman, Jaime Villarreal, Viljan Bijev, and Luis Espino Vasquez as the midfielders, and Cameron Iwasa as the attacker. Their substitutes were Rafael Diaz, Carlos Rodriguez, Justin Schmidt, Jeremy Hall, Mark McIntosh, Christian Azel, and Wilson Nisha. So that was all the players that the Sacramento Republic Bears had. All right, who goes there? We got 4 people watching. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into some interviews, and when we come back, we will talk more about the actual analysis of the key plays of the game. So first off, the first interview that we're going to go ahead and listen to is Todd Warden. Let's check him out.
Yeah, it's a lot like last game. We feel like we lost 2 points tonight. Last game was a little different. It's only 1 goal lead, but tonight 2 goals with 10 minutes left. You have to win those games. We're still young. We're still learning. We're still going to get better every game. So it's good that we're learning now early on in the season, and I think it's just going to help us later on. But it is tough to swallow after being up 2 goals.
Their first goal came on a set piece, and it looked like you guys were rushed or a little off guard. What did you see on that one?
Yeah, well, we had 2 guys stand in front of the ball, so they couldn't do a quick one. I guess they were saying the ref told them to move, and then he allowed them to play quick. And then, I don't know, just I guess a good header. I was kind of turned around too, which is not good. But yeah, I guess they just played quick cross. I think there was a little bit of deflection. I don't know, but yeah, I guess they're allowed to play quick when we usually have someone there standing trying to stop that. So I didn't really see that part. So.
How about on the equalizer? What did you see on that play?
Yeah, it was just, the ground was slick. The guy whipped in a pretty dangerous ball and just jumped up on Connor, I guess. I think it was Connor. I don't know who it hit. Yeah, just really unlucky. So I think we deserved 3 points. But
did you feel like you guys played well outside of those 2 moments or those breakdowns?
Yeah, I don't think they had any clear chances really throughout the game, unless I'm forgetting some. But if you're up 2 goals and there's 10 minutes left, I think you definitely deserve to win.
What did it mean for you to get on the score sheet this early in the season?
Yeah, it felt good. I got one kind of early last year. But yeah, it always helps your confidence if you get one early, helping the team, get a result. But at the end of the day, we didn't win, so it's kind of, I don't know the right word. It's not as fun as it is when you win if you score when you tie. So. Whatever.
What does it feel having the captain's badge for this season, and how do you help contribute with your team leadership?
Yeah, it means a lot. Cherson's given me the responsibility. I like to lead by example at training and during games, just with how hard I work and playing simple. And there's a lot of young guys, so it's not just me that's helping out with leadership. It's me, it's Jorginho, it's Kai, it's a lot of the older guys. So it's going to be a team effort to get everyone coming along. But yeah, it's a good responsibility, and I'm happy about it.
All right, so that was Todd Warden, our captain, talking about the game. One thing that I did want to bring up, which was very interesting, he mentioned, so in the first goal, it was a free kick against us. Jorginho James he put himself in front of the ball in order to prevent the Republic to play it quickly. The referee tells him he has to move back. As he is being moved back, the Sacramento players play it quickly, and the referee, instead of calling the play back like he should have, he decides to let the play go on because, he is pretty much adjusting the wall. So right then and there, there's no way that you should be allowed to play it quickly, and so that caught the defense off guard. And the second goal, was kind of bad luck on Connor Donovan. There's not really much that we can say about that. It's those kind of crosses where they're very dangerous because any touch from whether it's the attacker or the defender, that can pretty much lead to a goal. And it just happened that it touched Connor Donovan and it went straight for an own goal. A golazo, I might add, but an own goal. So what do you think? What do you think, guys? Do you really approve? Do you agree with Todd Warden? Do you think he's done a good job as a captain? Come on, let me know whether in the chat or call on the phone lines. We will be available right now. We also got Jorginho James. We got an interview from him. By the way, I really want to thank Cesar. I want to thank him as well as Ray Silva. for getting me these videos, these interviews with the players, with the coach. Big round of applause for them. Thank you, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, for that effort that you put in for Down in the Valley. And Harry Austin says that Swope is already up 1-0 in the 7th minute. So that is pretty interesting. So Goal Score Park, it was Jalen Lindsay. Thank you, Cesar. Thank you, Harry, for the update. So we'll see how that continues with the Colorado Switchbacks. So now we have Jorginho James. He's going to be the next player who I'll go ahead and show you the interview, the post-game interview with him. So let's take a listen.
End up with a draw in this game, but after having a mentality, like are they feeling in the locker room for you all?
We're very disappointed. We should have come away with a win, knowing that we're at home. We played good up to 80 minutes. We're leading 2-0. I think at home we should have closed out the game. But again, it's early in the season, and we're still learning as a team. And we're disappointed, of course, for the result. But hopefully we can't kill ourselves for it because we have a next game on the road. So we have to move past this, what happened tonight, and see what happened on the road.
What was your vantage point when they scored their first goal on the set piece? It seemed like you guys weren't necessarily ready for the play to start.
As I said, it's still early in the season. It's still type of stuff that we have to learn to deal with. We scored, and we know that whenever you score, the most likely that to concede a goal is right after you score, and that's happened to us. We still have to get that right, so we can do better in the season, later down in the season. And it's a good thing that it's happening now in the early season, so we can fix it. Later down we can gain more 3 points on the road or wherever and look much better as a team.
You had scored right before that. Take me through that play and what you saw there.
There was a breakaway. I know my striker, we trained a lot. He's a good guy that hold up the ball. I scream and I ask him please, because in practice I keep hitting those balls, and that's my strong point. So I knew he was going to lay it off, because in practice that's what we practice, to lay off. I'm in a better position. I control it. Definitely, I see the goalkeeper on one side, so I just strike it to the other side, and it was tucked in nicely.
Did you expect to be in the starting 11 this week, or when did you find out?
Oh yeah, we're working hard. We played a game in Houston against the Dynamos, and from there I said there's no way I can turn back from coming out of the starting lineup, and I want to continue on this. Pablo's been out, and I want to take that advantage for me, so I can continue playing and do my best for the team.
Did you feel like you did that? Were you happy with your game overall outside of just the goal?
Yeah, of course. To know that this is my first 90 minutes, this is our second game of the team. I'm proud of how I was winning the ball for the team. We're organized at time and we're balanced at time. I just think that there's always things that I can fix and always things that I can get better at, but it's still a work in progress for me, and I'm happy with myself moving forward.
Jorginho, talk about when the ball went through and you had the opportunity to tuck in. Was it just instinct, or was it just already planned out, like, hey, I'm going to go this way if the ball comes this other direction?
On the goal?
Yes.
Oh yeah, it was definitely something that we practiced. Although he's very good with the ball at his feet, he can dribble, he can take you. And from I know he turned and looked up, and there was already 3 players on him, so I was the only clear pass to give. So it would have been really unselfish for him not to pass it, but we practiced that. So he's a striker, and I know he's hungry to score, but I was in a better position, so he gave me, which is good.
So that was Jorginho James. One of the things that he talked about, obviously, that was interesting is that play was actually, practiced during the week. many times. Jorginho, we all know he scored a couple of goals from outside the box, especially the one last year against Seattle Sounders 2 that was snuffed out of goal of the week contention, but because Drogba scored that week, so obviously you had to let Drogba win. But it's interesting to note that he understands that that is his forte, shooting from outside the box. Aldo Quintanilla, he gives him praise that he's unselfish and that he dribbles the ball well. And we'll go ahead and listen to Aldo Quintanilla's version or point of view of that play in a little bit. But man, that was a really awesome strike. We'll go ahead and talk about that later on as well after the hour mark. So my dad says we need someone to keep the ball and play with the time when needed. Play with the score. That's experience and learning process. Exactly, and that's what Edson Ochoa said in his interview. And then he says, "Somos toros y seguimos apoyando nuestro equipo." Obviously, and that's how it should be. So we'll go ahead and let's go ahead and listen to Aldo Quintanilla's version or his words on this game. It's in Spanish, so I'll go ahead and translate in summary about what he talks about.
Las visorías en enero y también contribuís en las dos jugadas de gol. ¿Cómo te sentiste en el campo?
Pues muy feliz, muy contento por mi debut, por esta oportunidad que se me dio y la conseguí trabajando y espero poder seguir sumando aquí asistencias o goles apoyando al equipo y contento, feliz.
So they asked him about about the game. Well, how do you felt like to make his debut and be able to do the assist? And he says that he's really happy to have been given the chance for his professional debut, and that he's up to the challenge of helping out the team whenever possible, whether it's scoring goals or providing the assist like he did with Jorginho.
Viste porque agarras el balón como que te ves en que vas a tirar y luego le pasas el balón a Jorginho James. ¿Cómo viste tú la jugada?
Yo creo que el rebote la hace Víctor Garza, entonces me queda el balón a mí y veo un espacio, entonces entro por ahí y mi primer pensamiento fue tirar, pero cuando levanté la cara vi que estaba en mejor posición él y se la pasé a él y qué bueno que se dio el gol.
They asked him about to describe the goal, the second goal, Jorginho's goal, and he mentions that the rebound was by Victor Garza. He is able to grab the ball. He notices that there's a space in front of him, and he decides to take the space. His first intention was to shoot, but then he says that he noticed that Jorginho James was wide open, and so he decides to pass the ball for him, and that he was glad that it ended up in a goal.
En la jugada del penal, ¿cómo fue que anticipaste el contacto al sentir que te iban a llegar dos defensores de Sacramento?
Creo que eso se viene entrenando. Yo conozco mucho a Montaño, que siempre la agarra e intenta pasar el centro enfrente de los centrales. Entonces yo trato de anticiparlo y lo recepciono con el pecho y me empuja.
All right, so that was Aldo Quintanilla, one of our latest homegrown player from the Rio Grande Valley. The third question, they asked him about the play with the penalty kick. They asked him, it was Ray Silva that asked him, how is it that you anticipated that he was going to, the foul inside the area? And so he mentions that, he's noticed that John Montaño, he tends to cross the ball behind the defenders, and so he goes and anticipates. All right, so we got a call. Let's go ahead. Hello, welcome to Down in the Valley.
Hey, Edson, it's me, Ray. How are you? And good evening.
Hey, how you doing, Ray? What's going on?
Thank you for calling me Willie Gonzalez on social media.
Oh, sorry, but yeah. Well, you have to admit that. Okay, so here's the interesting part, guys. So I'm at the Dynamo game covering the Dynamo against New England Revolution. I start seeing we're still winning. We're winning 2-1, and then I see his tweet. It says that the Sacramento is starting to pressure our defense, and he says, "A ver si no pasa la tragedia." Hopefully, the tragedy does not happen. So let me give you just a little bit of background about what that means. So it's been a couple of times, most notably Monterrey against Pachuca, the final of 2016. So right before the play, where Pachuca ties the score, but gets the win in aggregate, which in the nice.
No. Pachuca won the game in injury time.
Yeah, in the aggregate.
No, they won the game overall in injury time. It was the final. Remember that.
Yes. No, I know. And so basically, like right before that play happened, that narrator, Willy Gonzalez from Monterrey, RG La Deportiva, he's like, we're about to go into extra time unless the tragedy happens. And right the next play, they cross the ball into the area, into the box. They score. They win the championship. And so
it was an in-swinging corner kick where a defender for Pachuca just he had all the space for him, and boom.
Yeah. So and so that's what pretty much happened, because not even 30 seconds after I saw it, that's when I received the notification on Twitter that Sacramento scored the tying game. I was like, okay, thank you, Willy Gonzalez. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
That was a cheap shot.
Sorry, man. I know, but and
thankfully, I wasn't calling the game.
Well, I think if you were calling the game, I'm pretty sure it would have gone 3-2 for Sacramento, because that's how.
What?
What?
You know what? That was very close to happening. Had Corti had not saved that penalty.
Yeah. Okay, so speaking of the penalties, were they penalties in your point of view?
Both of them were, yes.
Okay.
Both of them were. I just don't. I agree with Coach Etcheverry on the part where, the referee had didn't even ask the Toros players for the 10 yards and allowed Sacramento the quick free kick, which ultimately led to the tying goal.
Mm-hmm.
But I do agree that ref has had like a solid rep during these couple of years that I've seen USL. He's one of the better acting refs, but it was just one of those one-off moments that that changed the game and in the blink of an eye, and
yeah.
Credit to Mr. Vega. I mean, he's had his moments, but he's not another name that I don't want to bring up.
Mm-hmm.
I still have I probably want to throw darts at his a picture if I had one in front of me at this point.
So he's one of those where he's pretty much the salvageable referee of pro referees.
Yes, very much so. I mean, there's a handful of them that are very, very salvageable. That probably, if you send them to FIFA, they can probably get their FIFA badge if they really wanted to,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But that's just my point of view on this thing,
So you were there. You were covering the game for Down in the Valley. Overall, what is your analysis of this game?
The analysis, I mean, look, the Toros looked so much better than the first game. They had a little bit more possession. They had more. There was more creative chances, which it looks like the guys did better on as the game went on. They had a little bit more set piece opportunities, which probably needs some refining in there in order to take advantage of those plays. Defensively, they just need to clean it up a little bit more. And like I said, these first 6 games, are going to be a work of progress before we can actually give out a solid letter grade, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And this weekend coming up against Colorado, it's going to be a very, very big measuring stick for them, because not only are they going to go play in the altitude, but it's going to be one of those shocking experiences to a very, very young squad, you know. So it's going to be a very interesting game against Colorado. I hope that we can leave out of there with another draw, you know, because normally when you go play in the altitude, you normally don't follow your game plan that you would like to follow. You'd have to follow like an alternate game plan, because you're playing in the altitude. You can't run at the same speeds. The ball travels a little bit faster, so it's just going to have to be a game of adjustments once they get to Colorado.
Yeah, definitely. You know, it's probably still be cold as well up in the altitude. And honestly, I'm pretty sure most of these players have not really had much of an in-depth experience with that, as well as playing away. It's going to be our first away game. So it'll be interesting to see how they'll react being away from home. And honestly, I think the biggest, like I mentioned before, the biggest gripe I have is the fact that they cannot they cannot continue to have that focus mentality the full 90 minutes.
Albeit that's true, but here, if you could leave Colorado with the 1-1 draw, it would be considered a nice victory for them, because mostly the vast majority of the roster haven't experienced playing in the altitude, with the exception of Wharton, Jorginho, and Kai, who are the only leftovers from the year before. So those guys, are going to have to direct traffic a little bit more to try to earn a result on the road.
Yeah. And maybe even like Derek Luke, since he does have some USL experience with Cincinnati, and the big but is that he usually would play in the Eastern Conference and not in the Western Conference, where we have all these teams up in altitude. So he's gonna suffer. He might have the experience. You know, I gotta take back my statement. He might have the experience, but he does not have experience playing in the altitude as some of these players. So overall, you know, obviously, Gerson Echeverry talked about the three homegrown players with Omar Ontiveros, Victor Garza, and Aldo Quintanilla. What do you think? How they did? Do you agree?
No, I was very surprised with the speed of Aldo Quintanilla, and it even surprised me when I saw the team sheet when the guy was announced as a starter, and we're like, okay, there might be something to this. I want to see the game now, you know. And this was maybe about an hour before the game started, and boy, he caught my attention very quickly, you know. Having quick bursts of speed, you know, practically dragging two defenders on him all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And with the other two guys playing a little bit more of a defensive role, they did very well, you know. I mean, it's just something that it was pleasant to see, and now let's see if they can keep it up and keep it going, you know. I mean, because it is a rather long season, and like I asserted earlier, I think your first 6 games are going to be very important here.
Mm-hmm.
To see what kind of formation, what kind of lineup you're going to be using moving forward.
Yeah, especially with the fact that it appears that Gerson Echeverry is wanting to rotate the squad as intelligently as possible. Obviously, you're not going to put in completely change all 11 players from one game to the next, you know. But he's little by little he's moving his pieces.
I would not be surprised if we see a brand new starting 11 against Colorado. I would not be surprised, because he had mentioned that players want to get their minutes, they want to get their playing time, So I would not be surprised if I see a different starting 11.
Hmm. So you might see
Only
players
only
like, yeah, go ahead.
only because you're playing in the altitude. You
Mm-hmm.
want to get them as much experience as you want, and yeah, so you might see a different type of a different kind of formation against Colorado.
Hmm. Yeah, that'll be pretty interesting to see. Hopefully, it doesn't kind of play against them. But I mean, I see what you're getting. To get these players like Jordan Jones, Matt Sanchez, put him up to get his first minutes in league time. You might actually see Manny Padilla or maybe even Coach Cabrera's son, David Cabrera. You might see some more minutes from him.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, all options are open right now, being that it's the first road game.
Mm-hmm.
You're playing in the altitude, and you're just hoping to at least come back home with the draw, and not have that losing mentality.
Mm-hmm. See, the only problem I have with going with the mentality of going with the draw is that 9 times out of 10 you end up getting the loss. So hopefully, maybe like he really wants, okay, like a tie is good. But I hope that the players and Gerson Echeverry go on the field with the mentality, if we can get the win, we should get the win. Even if it's away, even if it's in the altitude. I mean, we've done it before against Colorado Switchbacks. We did it last year when the team was pretty much a mess under Coach Gonzalez. So, no lo puedes descartar, but it's more than likely, like I told Mark, it's probably going to be a draw.
Another point that you have alluded to, you brought up last year, and I'll bring up the first year, when Colorado was right in our heels to take that second place spot. We go in there on a Sunday afternoon, and Ruben Luna just scores a fantastic opening goal.
Mm-hmm.
And then they lose a guy to a red card, and it opened up the scoring a little bit for us,
Mm-hmm.
where we lost a man. I can't remember how that situation was, where we lost a guy to a red card, or they may have lost one to a red card, and it opened up the game, and we ended up snagging 3 points from them on the road. I would like to see a repeat performance of that game, just to motivate the guys, that, hey, this team is beatable at their place,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I mean, it's here in transfer market. I mean, 4 games we've played against them, we've won all 4 of them, and so I think the game you're referring to is the first game that we've played in history. Ruben Luna scored. I'm trying to see. Oh, they don't even report the name.
No. It was the first. It was like during the key stretch of the season where the team went on the road, and it was a road trip that started in Colorado.
Okay.
We took the victory there, and Ruben Luna opened up the scoring on a fantastic goal, and then they went on to Sacramento, got a draw out of that, went to LA, took a loss there, and then they took another draw from Orange County before coming back home and closing out the home slate. This was in year 1 of the Toros.
Yeah, because in year 1, we played away first on August 21st. We won 2-0. Ruben Luna scored right away. And then I think in stoppage time was when Zenin Katic scored the second goal. And then a week later, we play... okay. And the week later we play at home against Colorado, and Josh Suggs of Colorado is the one that scores first, and then 2 Ruben Luna penalties give us the win in that game. So those two games, since they were like right next to each other, were pretty crucial to us being able to get that second place. in the Western Conference. So yeah, it's it's
Yep.
really interesting.
Yep. Yeah, and I tell you, I can recall that for the home game against Colorado where their coach and like two of their players just absolutely lost it. I mean, they just blew a fuse and were shown red cards. And man, oh man, it was something.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was. I'm trying to let me see that from that game because it shows. Yeah, it shows everything from that game. That in that 2-0 match, the first ever, we had a red card to Ronnie Argueta in the 45th minute, and it looks like that was the only red card. Yeah, it was Christian Ibeaga got a yellow. Ronnie Argueta got the red card. Jorge James got the yellow card for the Toros. So yeah, that early in the second half, losing a man for Colorado Switchbacks proved to be crucial for the Toros.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those games like, whoa. It had a little bit of everything and something.
Yeah. Hopefully we get to see something, obviously not with the red cards, but, something where a very entertaining match between both teams, well played out, them fighting where you can actually see them, fighting for the ball, things like that, and not something where like, oh, they're just passing the ball around kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's what I hope we can get from this game, an entertaining match, and then we'll see what happens. So basically, the Toros are actually, this game is the first of a couple of games on the road because they don't come back home. I believe it's
So April 25th.
Mm-hmm. And that
They
is
host Orange County.
yes, and that's on a Wednesday. And then the next home game is the Reno match.
Yeah, which is another Wednesday, the Kids Day special.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whoopsie. I'm going to have fun for that one.
Va a estar todo lleno de lagañas y todo at the game. But man, it's but man, honestly, I'm really looking forward to seeing how the kids react to this game, because like I was talking to Sean, and I think it was last week's Power Hour. We were talking about how crucial, getting the attention of the kids to fall in love with this team, and kind of like asking their parents to take them to watch the Toros. It can be essential if done right by both front office and the team out there. So we'll look forward to seeing them. And after the next home game after that is going to be the game against San Antonio.
Oh man, you better you better just find a way to be down here for that.
Oh, I am. Trust me, I am. It's on a Saturday. It's perfect. The Dynamo does not play at home, and even if they were going to play at home, I would make the trip down there. I don't want to miss a San Antonio match, a South Texas Derby.
Neither would I. Believe me.
Yeah, and so
after the way they did us in on our home opener last season,
No, definitely not. We have a bone to pick with San Antonio. So it'll be an interesting week that, when actually what I'm going to be starting hopefully at that game. We hope to be able to do pregame and postgame shows. So hopefully you're down with that for that we can inaugurate that for the South Texas Derby.
Definitely, I'm down for that.
All right, man. So Cesar says, I'm going to be there. Yep, Cesar, hope to see you there too.
Bye, Cesar. Thanks for your help.
Yeah, thank both of you. Thank you, both of you guys, for your help. For getting this information. Being out there for the Toros and helping out down in the valley. You guys, I don't know what I would do being here is almost 6 hours away, how I would cover the Toros as in depth if it weren't for y'all's help.
I mean, hey, I was just looking for an opportunity somewhere.
No,
and I struck gold somewhere.
Yeah, no, dude, you're welcome to have that opportunity. I'm glad that to be able to help you in that aspect of your career, and hopefully it'll lead to bigger and better things for you, man.
Look, I'll contribute as much as I can,
Yeah, and definitely looking forward to that, man. And so hope to see what happens on Saturday, and I'll talk to Sean about giving you access to the website, like if you want to write articles for it. I keep on forgetting because with work and stuff, I kind of forget about it. But
baby steps, Edson. Baby steps.
Yeah, definitely, man. I'm trying to eat the world when I'm barely learning how to crawl.
Exactly. Baby steps, brother. Baby steps.
Will do, man. All right, man. You got anything else you want to talk about?
No, other than the aforementioned Willie Gonzalez calling Tigres Manchester City.
Oh
funny.
My God,
I find that funny because didn't Manchester City lose today 3-0
to Liverpool?
Got boat raced. Who guys got boat raced out of the pitch today?
Yeah, I wish I could have watched the game because of work. But you have to expect those kind of stupid comments from people from multimedios. I've learned that. Yeah, they actually put up a poll. It was like who plays better football, out of all the world. And they had Real Madrid, they had I think they had Barcelona, and they had Tigres and Rayados. And the worst part is that Tigres was actually winning the poll. It's like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. All right, guys, so we're gonna go on break, guys, from the infomercials. Anyways, we'll be right back.
Allow me to show you something.
All right, guys, welcome back to Down in the Valley. Proud member of the Beautiful Game Network. All right, there we go. I couldn't hear myself. So, welcome back to Down in the Valley. Proud member of the Beautiful Game Network. Be sure to check out their Twitter. Follow them at the BGNFM. Check out their website, bgn.fm. Check out other USL podcasts that are members, like Back Chat Show, Sock Takes, Play the Kids, Raisin Bowls, etc., etc. Be sure to give them their support as well. Javier says, my dad's... Oh, we got a call. Let's go ahead and see what they got. Hello, welcome to Down in the Valley.
Guess who?
What's up, Cesar?
Not much, man. Podcast is going great.
Thanks, man. Thanks for thanks for those words, man. So how have you been, man?
I've been good. Getting busy with work. Trying to keep looking at the Toros as much as possible.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely need that support. Little bit growing little by little. I'm noticing as far as attendance, but honestly, we could do a lot more than that. So, what are your opinions on RGVFC so far, dude?
Yeah, funny you should bring up the attendance. I was actually, contemplating that. Well, with us being, members of the supporters group, the Stampede and all.
Yeah.
As far as attendance goes, how important is it, in your opinion, how important is it for a, supporter section in, for a club to have as that back, as far as drums, chanting, the club will have the club will know that they'll have their, their loyal supporters.
See, the way I see it, I mean, I've been part, obviously, of you guys with the Stampede. I've been with El Batallón. I've been to a couple of games with the Libres y Locos. And I really think that it's very important to have a supporters group in this side of the world, because if you notice, a lot of the times, like, the fans pay attention to what the supporters group does. And we've noticed a couple of times, like last year, when we would go up to the stands and they would actually follow what we do. What even it was the Let's Go Toros, they'll follow along with some of the chants that are kind of catchy and things like that, and that helps a lot. That helps the atmosphere a lot, because we as supporters group take initiative in leading the support from the stands to the pitch, and the guys the players that are down there, with the opposing players, we set a little bit of pressure on the opposing team if done correctly, and with our own players, they feel that welcome. And you've heard from a couple of interviews with whether it's Jerson or with the players where they notice that support coming in from the stands and they really appreciate it. So yes, I do think that having a supporters group is very important for a soccer team to have.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I think the most notable was the game against Seattle. Mm-hmm. I noticed that was when the crowd got the most hyped up, the loudest. And the commentators actually said, there's a transition of volume or something along the lines of that. And that's when I believe Magales, he was able to get the brace off of that set piece.
Yes. Yeah, it does play a big role in a soccer match. And so, you guys have done a tremendous job in these past couple of games. Actually, all the time, you guys have done tremendous job leading the chants. So you guys have taken it to another level. I think this season with the addition of some new members from what you've been telling me that have brought in new ideas to the Stampede.
Yeah, we have had a few members. Join in, say they love it. Heck, during the home opener, that's when we recruited the most. Mm-hmm. And, it's grown exponentially, and ultimately, we'll hopefully have a whole stadium on our side. And it, like you said, it does help back the team up knowing that, hey, if these guys came here for a show, let's give them a good one. But then again, I ain't a pro player, nor am I in any shape to be.
Yeah, I think neither of us, man. It's just one of those dreams that we had as a kids, but we never never gonna make. But so you got anything from the Stampede? Any announcements that you want to let the fans know?
Not much. Other than, hey, if you got passion, if you got heart, you love your local club, we're always looking for new members.
So where can they meet you at if new members are interested in joining the Stampede?
They want to join us during the game. We're always at the bottom behind either the visitor or the home goal. On a floor level of the stadium, you can see we got banners. We got our tifos out. Mm-hmm. Our pregame, we're always in the parking lots.
Tailgating,
we're always tailgating.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, honestly, from somebody who lived it the end of 2016 and for the most part 2017. You know, it's a really fun experience to be with the Stampede. You know, being out there, you know, singing, beating the drums, or playing instruments. If you have an instrument to play, whether it's a trombone or a trumpet or whatever, or if it's the weedle. You know, every little thing counts. Every little thing is an addition that'll give, you know, the Stampede, you know, that extra little flavor, that extra boost in forming. I think the most important thing is forming a bond between fans and supporters group, to a point where, like, you start a chant and everybody knows the chant and they join with you. And I think, you know, it's a long process to get there, but I think the Stampede is on the right track right now. So, you know, big kudos to all out there. Johnny, who's the president, big shout out to him. You know, he's done a tremendous job, as so has every other member of the Stampede. So, you know, great job out there. So, going back with the team, man. So, what are your thoughts on what the team has done so far?
So far, from what I've seen, I've noticed that you know, they not really started, you know, from scratch, but they pretty much built the team off the, you know, going up off the ground. Mm-hmm. With all these new fresh faces, not to mention a couple of homegrowns, which was going to be my next question. You know, with it being an affiliate team for Houston, obviously Houston has their own, you know, taste of homegrown and stuff. How important is it for, you know, local talent in a second division team? You know, how important is that to have with the exception of you know, the three we already have? Would it be important as, you know, next year for not just Houston, but for the Toros in general?
I think it should be. We need to focus on Toros stuff as far as with the academy, because, like, for example, we have our RGV Academy, and from what we've seen, you know, they've won championships in tournaments around Texas, around the United States. They recently, the under-19s, have made it to the semifinals in the Dallas Cup, so they're off to a good start. So you're looking at some future RGV players that might make it to the first team, have more homegrowns, and that helps out a lot, because as fans, you know, you see that connection. If you have homegrowns, players from the Valley representing the Valley's team, the more people are going to be, hey, you know what, this is actually our team, because we have the identity of these local players that have made it professional and are fighting to win the championship. And in the future, if they show a lot of good stuff and they make it to the Dynamo, then you start seeing, you know, Dynamo fans pay more attention to RGV. So you're seeing, hey, you know what? Maybe the RGV actually has it's a talent hotbed for soccer, and they might start seeing, you know, more focus from the Dynamo fans, who right now a lot of them don't really care about RGV. As well as some pundits, like, for you know, that have their shows and they don't really care about RGVFC. Yeah, sure, you know, they've the Dynamo have signed Eric Bird, Charlie Ward, and many others, but they don't really.
Speaking of which, is Ward getting any minutes?
No, he's not.
No,
he did not even make it to the bench this past game against New England Revolution. So, you know, getting back to it, you know, they start saying, oh, you know what, they're not ready. Yeah, yes, they played in the USL, but they're not ready for MLS. And yet you take these players from the Toros, where they can continue to develop. You move them up to the Dynamo, and they're not getting any minutes, and they're getting a little bit rusty. So we'll see what happens with them. And so if we start seeing all these players make it up to the first team, we start seeing more Memo Rodriguez's, more Mauro Manotas's, who went through RGV and then are actually getting minutes in the first team. You know, they'll start seeing RGVFC as a success for the Dynamo system.
Yeah, you do bring up a good point on that. You know, going back to what I was saying before about, you know, local homegrown talent, you were saying, hey, people are gonna say, hey, this is our club, which will in turn, you know, gather more support with the fans, and, you know, they'll have a bigger, I don't want to say, I could say, you know, a bigger audience
Yeah.
Because generally, isn't that what it is?
Yeah, definitely. People will pay more attention to the team. They'll start going more to the games, especially if the results start coming in. If we start seeing entertaining matches, but also getting results, getting wins at home, making it deep in the round of playoffs. Maybe not necessarily winning, because there's a lot of more teams out there that have that same ambition to win the championship. But at least make a decent showing to playoffs. We were off to a good start in 2016. In 2017, it all went to shambles with Junior Gonzalez. But hopefully under Gerson Echeverry, we get back on track and make a deep run, maybe hopefully into the second round of playoffs. That's what I'm hoping, at least for this team. Because I see if we start making playoff rounds, people are going to be more interested. It's simple. People, especially in the Valley, prefer to follow winning teams or teams that are popular because obviously, there's a lot of Cowboys fans over there, but what have they won in the past couple of years?
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's what I feel about the homegrown talents. And it's a good thing that, for example, RGV has their own academy, and they don't have to rely on Dynamo's academy for long. Because honestly, and we've talked about it with me and Sean, is that the Dynamo Academy has not really been good. They have not been able to produce talent that is ready for the professional level. So if we can rely on our own, and if we prove that our academy is way more effective than Dynamo's, you might start seeing less of a reliance on Dynamo, and you start moving away from this whole aspect of being MLS too light and being more of actually it's an actual hybrid where, yes, the Dynamo controls the aspects, but it's not to a point where they control like everything. Like we can be self-reliant as well if needed to.
Like they have been for the past 2 seasons.
Yeah, but I mean that's the whole thing. So
yeah.
So what do you think? Do you think they will be competitive this year?
I honestly have high hopes for it. I can't predict the future or anything, but seeing from what I'm getting from these last 2 games, these kids, these guys, these new ones that have amazing potential, but as Echeverry said, still thinking they're in college or aren't used to the professional level, Division II, but still professional nonetheless.
Yeah.
They have crowds, they have noise, they have opposing fans. They got scoreboards, all up in their faces.
Yes.
Not to mention climate. Boy, the climate down here.
Yeah, definitely. As well as like he said as well, you're going up against players that have experience in the professional level. They're not going to be as simple to beat as other players in college. So they have it's a process that they have to learn. Hopefully it comes sooner than later. And Gerson Echeverry said that as well. So, anything else you wanna talk about it?
Another thing that was on my mind was, being from the Valley, you and I both. There's obviously a lot of other clubs that people will go for down here, and I've been loyal to for years and years. Mm-hmm. And what with RGV still being relatively new, I mean, this is their 3rd season and all. You get a lot of people going to the games that have Chivas or Rayados or Tigres or America jerseys on, and I don't know if it's a loyalty thing and all, but how difficult is it to support more than one club, from different leagues and all? Here's
the thing, though. And I talked about this as well at the last week's Dynamo Power Hour with Sean. Because that thing was brought up because the same thing happened, when the Tigres and Chivas played here at BBVA Campus Stadium. It was sold out to the brim with Tigres and Chivas fans, and yet we cannot seem to fill for the Dynamo games. The thing about it is what I'm seeing and what I feel happens with our culture, the Mexican culture and Hispanic culture in general, is that we're very reluctant. Sure, you have the exceptions like us who we support local and things like that.
Right.
But other people in the Valley, they're very reluctant to divide and I don't want to say divide, but because it's not like you have a finite amount of support, and if you go for another team, you're taking away support from the other. But that's the way they see it. Yeah, that's the way they see it. They see like, oh, if I support this other team, if I support the Toros, then that means that I'm not going to be as big as much of a loyal fan to Tigres, to Chivas, to America, to Emelec, to wherever, whatever your childhood team is, then I'm not going to be a fan. In fact, dude, like I told him as well, I get made fun of by my friends from Monterrey, my family from Monterrey, because I follow Tigres, I follow the Toros, I follow the Dynamo, and I follow Real Madrid, and they call me a Villamelón, y que se que el otro, que he's like, one of the guys is like, dude, you support a club from like every block around town. I'm like, no, it's not that. It's just like, obviously, I support local. I follow the Dynamo. That's been my MLS team since its inception. The Toros, it's local. I have I have pride for the RGV, especially with soccer, and I want to see it thrive. And that's the thing. And with Tigres,
and I was gonna bring that up. Us being prime examples. You with Tigres, me with Monterrey, you with Houston, and me with Chicago Fire.
Yeah.
Don't hate me for that, but that's that's way before the Toros happened.
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah, it is possible, but you have to jump through the front office and marketing department is going to have to jump through these cultural hoops in order to get these people, these fans, to pay attention and fall in love with the team, with the Toros. And one of the things is, obviously, they're doing a good job, bringing in these teams from Liga MX, get these fans to the stadium, get to know the stadium, and see the environment that goes in. And that happens in the field, and they see like, oh, we have a team. Well, go ahead and check it out. And with that one visit to HEB Park, to go see the Toros, if done right, you're able to hook them to fall in love with this team, and we have a better chance having more homegrown players. So that's
hell, the Chivas Santos game was sold out to the brim. We were even lucky to be getting in there.
Yeah. Yeah,
it didn't even feel like we were in the valley anymore.
It felt like we were in Mexico. Yeah, definitely, and that's what teams like Chivas and America do. They fill out. They might not fill their own stadium, but they fill out everybody else's stadium, because that's how much support these two giants from Liga MX have around. They not only in Mexico or the United States, but sometimes they're around the world. So you just have to find a way to convince these fans that, hey, it's okay to support local, even if you already have your own team. You can support local. Go out, have some fun, drink some beers. Every other weekend, watch some soccer. It might not be as high quality as Liga MX, because it's not only it's American soccer and Division II, but it's your team, and the team needs to find that identity that correlates with the identity of the RGVFC citizenship. What people are attracted to in the Rio Grande Valley, and that's what they need to find, and they need to do it sooner than later if they want to get even more people up into the stands. But that's my opinion. I'm sure other people that are listening, not only right now live, but during when it's podcasted, they might have some different opinions of that. But
another thing I wanted to bring up was the U.S. Open Cup. I know the past 2 years that the Toros have been here, they didn't compete. Mm-hmm. And is it that important to compete in local tournaments like that? Well, the U.S. Open Cup's been around since 1914.
Yeah, it's one of the oldest in the world.
Yeah, and you've got a lot of teams either from MLS, USL, what with
MPSL now,
MPSL,
amateurs as well.
Was NASL in it too?
Not this year. Remember, they folded. So
this year, I know this year.
But last year they were. Yeah, last year they were.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Last season.
Okay. So basically, what's going on with there is that the Dynamo is not allowing the Toros to compete in the Open Cup, because, like you saw last year, and the year before, they grab RGV players to put on the Dynamo kit and represent the Dynamo in the U.S. Open Cup in the early stages of the Open Cup, and that's what they do. And I think it's
how well that went, though.
Yeah. And I think it's very unfair for the Toros to obviously, the players, they want to put on the Dynamo kit because that's what they want. They want for the Dynamo to notice them and hopefully fight for a spot in the first, in the first team over there. But as RGV fans, hey, you know what? You got our players playing for you all, but they're not representing us. They're representing you when they don't even play for you during the regular season. I think that's unfair. But
prime example, Bird and Ward.
Yeah, exactly. They built so much a connection with the RGV fan base, especially with you guys, Charlie and Eric, Ruben Luna también. They formed a connection with the fans. And over there, like I told you before, they don't even care about them. They don't give them importance. No, so not at all. It's just not fair. But, in the end, Dynamo's the one that makes all these decisions. And it's going to be hard for people to convince them otherwise, to let the Toros participate. And it also goes through this whole conflict of interest thing, because what happens if the Dynamo ends up, playing against the Toros, in the Open Cup? Is there going to be some sort of agreement that like, oh yeah, just let the Dynamo win kind of thing? That you also have to think about that as far as, the organization of, the Open Cup, the Lamar Hunt Open Cup. They're going to be thinking that. So, I mean, the weird thing is, like, for example, Reno participated, and they're a hybrid club as well for the San Jose Earthquakes. So it can be done, but it's just that the Dynamo just refuses to give that level of autonomy to RGVFC.
Yeah, that is true. With another thing with affiliate teams, especially MLS2 teams, you got a lot of divided support also.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And the fans really, because they're basically representing the same team, the Seattle Sounders, and it's basically their B team. They don't have their own identity so that the different fans can follow that team. And so they don't really give, even like the first team fans, they don't give them that importance because it's basically academy players. So, and they're going to focus on like supporting the actual MLS team and not the USL team. So,
another good example is, do you think, I know Atlanta too was another team that came into the picture this year, and they're an MLS2 team. Look how big their fan base is for the first team.
Say again?
I say that another MLS2 team came into the picture this season, which was Atlanta United 2, or just ATL 2.
Yes.
Look how big their fan base is for the first team.
Yes. But I mean, I think it all involves the kind of marketing and the budget, the marketing budget that Atlanta has, because the Falcons owner, who owns the Atlanta United as well, he pretty much gives them a blank checkbook to the organizations. Hey, use this money, use my resources to whatever you need. And I think that's a difference. Right. That's a difference between Atlanta United 2, and Dynamo and Toros, is that Gabriel Brenner here with the Dynamo just doesn't really want to invest his money with the team. And honestly, with the Toros thing, I think that's another reason why they went hybrid, is because the Dynamo really did not want to put in their own money for like the front office aspect of it. And, Alonso Cantu was more than willing, because he did it with the Vipers, and he wanted to do something with soccer as well. So I think that's what the plan went along. But, but still, it's something that hopefully changes. But I highly doubt that they'll give us more autonomy as a club to be able to at least participate in the U.S. Open Cup. I would definitely love to have, the Toros playing against an MLS team at HB Park, or have like a team like Christos FC, an amateur team, come to HB Park, and hopefully, but it would be awesome. But hopefully not come up with something like they did last year, where they made it far and played against DC United in their little high school field.
Right.
But as the season progresses, we start getting more details on that, how the fan base responds to how the results come up, and it would be an interesting topic to talk about in upcoming episodes, man. So. Thank you, Cesar, for giving us a call, dude. I really appreciate it. You brought up a lot of good insight, not only on the team, but how this relationship with the Dynamo is. So hopefully we can have you call back on the next episode next week. Really loved the conversation that we were having.
Yeah, same here, man.
All right, Cesar. I'll talk to you later then, and hope to see you again soon in another RGVFC game, dude.
All right. Oh, I may have a better DSLR camera for the 25th game, so I may be able to get you a lot more high quality in-depth pics for that game.
Oh, dude, definitely. That'll be awesome, man. But yeah, just
rather than busting out my giant iPad.
Well, you gotta make do with what you have. So yeah. But man, thanks a lot. Hope to see you hear you on air next week, man. And go Toros.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on. And go Toros. Somos Toros.
No problem, man. Anytime. All right. Have a good night, man.
Take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
All right, so that was Cesar. That was some really interesting conversation that we had. So for next week, guys, be sure to if you guys also want to participate in the air, be sure to call us at 956-622-5977 every Wednesday at 7 p.m. So let's go ahead. We have 10 minutes left for our show. We're going to go ahead and go straight into the highlights and to my analysis of it. We'll go ahead and do it quickly. So these are the highlights. These are going to be the highlights for the game between Sacramento Republic and the RGVFC. So let's go ahead and go with that.
As we're under HEB Park, Rio Grande Valley in action for the first time in 2 weeks since the opening day of the season.
Eric Luke, not Antoine Fisher.
Okay, so this is all right. So this is the play when the first dangerous play of the game. So we notice right here we have let me see. All right, do I have the correct? Okay, yes, there we go. Interesting to note here, you have four Sacramento defenders in a really close space up here on their right side of the field. You have three RGV attackers, and you have Todd Warden right over here, as well as John Montaño, with a lot of space out on the right side of the field. And you'll notice that I believe this is Aldo Quintanilla. He'll come running on the inside. The ball will land, will head over to Todd Warden, and he'll try to take a shot that ends up hitting the crossbar. So let's go ahead and continue the play.
Opportunities on here for Garza. It's played in. The shot is in. It's over. It was Wharton, the captain, on the edge of the area.
First of all, hard work here.
So let's see that again right here.
Victor Garza.
So Victor Garza comes in towards the middle, and the ball lands onto Todd Warden. Okay, so this is another play. I believe this one is the penalty. So you'll have John Montaño right over here on the right side. He's gonna go towards all the flank. Take a look here at Aldo Quintanilla. So this is Aldo Quintanilla right here. He is in 3/4 of the field. He's gonna make the run all the way inside the box. You have three defenders on him, and he's still gonna manage to outpace them. You have over here, I believe this is Victor Garza. He's out wide. You have this looks like Saldivar. Todd Warden is over here, and I believe this is Kai Gree helping him out. So let's go ahead and continue this play. Come on.
On youth development.
The ball is swung in towards Quintanilla, who goes down, and a penalty is given.
Back of Quintanilla. Let's take a look at it here.
So look. So this is what.
The opportunity to give Rio Grande Valley the lead.
Let me go ahead and go back a little bit.
Here's the captain. Sends the keeper the wrong way.
That's a penalty.
Goes down, and a penalty is given.
So you see that John Montaño sends the ball all the way inside the area towards where Aldo Quintanilla was running in. And then he gets knocked down, inside the box. He gets knocked down inside the box. Take a look. That's a closer defense. Honestly, I don't think that's a penalty. Honestly, because they were both going shoulder to shoulder, and that technically is legal in soccer. So, you know, the referee called it a penalty, and Todd Warden goes up and takes the shot and scores the goal. So now we go into the next play, and this one is actually Sacramento doing the attack. This is the penalty play. So you have 5, look at this. You have 5, no, don't do this. All right. You have 5 defenders right here. You have Victor Garza helping out in the defense, like I mentioned before. He does have some sort of sacrifice to help out the defense. You have Derek Luke right over here. This looks to be Omar Ontiveros, Connor Donovan, and Kai Green. And you have 2. And so you have 2 attackers. The ball is sent all the way over to the white area. Let's go ahead and continue the play. So he goes from inside, from the wing, and he takes the ball inside. Come on. He takes the ball to the inside of the box, where he gets knocked down by Kai Green. And so it's really tricky because he goes in between. Look at this. You have Kai Green and you have 2 other defenders right here in that general vicinity. And he was able to make it inside. And Bijev gets knocked down, apparently, by the referee. Let's take a look at the closer replay right over here. I don't see a penalty in this either. I really don't see a penalty. I think that was a dive, honestly. But oh well, it was called against us. And Nico Cordy saves it, and the best part is he does not allow the ball to get rebounded and give some initiative. All right, so here, this is the goal. This is the second goal. This is Jorginho James' goal. Here's another interesting aspect of it. Just like in the shot with Todd Warden, you have 4 Sacramento players on our left side of the pitch. So in this play, this player right here tries to dribble the ball. The ball gets rebounded into on Victor Garza, and it lands into Aldo Quintanilla. Take a look at all this space right here. Look at all that space, and I'm not counting this space up on top on the other side. There's a lot of space right here that Aldo Quintanilla notices it, and so he decides, hey, you know what? I have the opportunity to come into this area right over here, or maybe over here, and try to look for the shot. And that's exactly what he does. He sees that opportunity. Now, take a look here at where Jorginho James is. He's right over here. He's got a defender on him. So he's going to start running to outside of the box to try to get the Sacramento defender to follow him inside. But the interesting part is, and you'll see it right now, if I continue the play, he notices that he's got his defender in front of him. So his back or the back of the defender is Jorginho's on the defender's back. So unless the defender looks back, he's not gonna see him, and he's gonna assume that he's gonna continue running. So he's gonna continue running towards the inside of the box, but he stops right outside. And you'll notice another thing is that you'll notice that the defender continues running inside. So he doesn't notice that Jorginho James stopped running, and so he's going to continue inside. And so he's got all this space right here later on in the play to receive the ball and shoot towards the goal. So let's go ahead and continue on with the video so you can see what I'm talking about. So, okay, so you see Aldo Quintanilla, he goes in. Okay, look, you see, you notice what I said? So this one right here, that's a defender that was supposed to be following Jorginho James. Jorginho James is over here, and he's all the way over here. You got 3 other players all around Aldo Quintanilla. So he's got all of this space to take the shot. And he sees that, and knowing his virtue of shooting long range shots, he takes it and scores it. Even when the defender tries to slide and try to intercept the ball. So that's something really interesting. That vision that Jorginho James had in noticing that the defender was going to continue running in and staying outside, take advantage of his virtue of shooting the ball from outside. Look, 3 defenders on Aldo Quintanilla. That's how well Aldo Quintanilla was playing, because he was really worried about Aldo Quintanilla being able to dribble past him. If you don't have that, you're not going to have that attention from your opposition defenders. So let's go ahead and continue. So this is the play. This is the play with the first Sacramento goal. And you notice here right away that the wall was barely getting positioned where they should. They sent the through ball over to this guy who runs over here, and he's going to send the cross. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 attackers, and you have 6 defenders in the box. So, but because they were caught off guard, they didn't ever really notice what was going to happen, what the attackers were going to do. And you'll see right here. So you have 4 in this general area, 2 defenders not marking anybody, and you've got 1. You've got Jorginho having to deal with this guy and this guy outside the box. Now, the most interesting thing here is that you have 3 players. You have 3 defenders on 2 players, on 2 Sacramento attackers, and yet the Sacramento attacker gets to the ball first. And that is really troubling, to say the least. Let's go ahead and continue the video. See that? This defender got to the ball first, and he had two other players on him. But here's another noticeable thing. If you notice, the way he runs straight and then hooks to the back. And so these defenders were not expecting that. And so that's how he was able to get to the ball first before the defenders. He used that hook to his advantage, that change of direction to his advantage, to be able to react faster to the ball, be able to head it in for Sacramento goal. So, it's these little things that you probably really don't notice when you're watching. I honestly did not notice. Okay, so here's the second goal. Okay, so here's the first goal. See how he does that hook, even though he's got 2 defenders, he manages to get to the ball, and he doesn't really have to jump. So this is the second goal. Look at how open Moffitt is. I think it's Moffitt. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 defenders in the box. And you also have, it looks to be Todd Warden outside. And you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 attackers. This guy looks to be all alone. Now the problem here, if you notice, when you continue with the play, is that he'll send the cross to right over here to this area where Connor Donovan is. The problem with it is, so he comes over here, kind of catches him off guard. He tries to clear it out, but it's angled in such a way is that if you don't hit it right, you're just going to pretty much change its direction slightly towards the goal. Son los que le llaman los dardos envenenados, and where you're looking for just a little change of direction that either your player or an opposing player makes on the ball, just so it can deviate the trajectory slightly and make it go inside for the goal. And that's exactly what happened to the misfortune of Connor Donovan. Sadly, he scores the own goal in the 92nd minute. That we lose 2 points in that, but hey, I mean that's soccer. See, look at that. See? Right in here. He sends the ball from the outside the box It bounces. That's the interesting part. Let me go ahead and go back to it. So it bounces on him before he's able to get to the ball, and that would prove to be the difference. See how it bounced right here? Oh, I really need to get used to this. Okay, so the ball comes in through here, bounces around there. And I'm assuming that Connor Donovan had the intention of the ball being around that high from the ground, but it bounced higher up, and all it did was the trajectory of the ball to go this way, hits his leg, and just get a little bit more higher height on the ball. Impossible for Nico Corti to be able to stop it. It's sad, but that's what soccer does. And if you're not ready for it, if you're not expecting it, it can come and bite you in the butt. It was a nice own goal, and poor Nico Corti, who ended up hitting himself with the post. So that's pretty much it for today's episode. I'll go ahead and leave the Gerson Echeverry interview on for you all. And so be sure to check out the video on be sure to check out the video up on YouTube. Check out the podcast when it comes out in SoundCloud, Apple Music, or iTunes, because then Sean's going to get mad at me. iTunes, the Google Play Store, Stitcher, as well as hopefully in the future, we start doing some internet radio, hopefully. But baby steps, like Ray Silva said, baby steps. We'll start with what we have. So be sure to, once it comes out it's podcasted in the 4 platforms. Be sure to check them out. Be sure to download them if you want. Subscribe to Down in the Valley on SoundCloud, on Google Play Store, on iTunes, on Stitcher, and be sure to check them out there as well. Listen to them when you're while you're driving home from work, or whether you're having your workout. Listen to the shows. Be sure to also, don't forget, next week, Down in the Valley, next Wednesday at 7 p.m. On Tuesdays, we'll have the Dynamo and Dash Power Hour on KTXF, which is on TuneIn Radio. We'll talk about the Houston Dynamo, the Dash, a little bit of RGV, but mostly the Dynamo, the Dash, U.S. men's and women's national team, and U.S. soccer in general. So thank you all who were watching this live stream, this show. Thank you all so much for participating. Thank Ray and Cesar for calling in. I really invite you for next week. I'd like a lot more people to participate with the show. Let me know your thoughts on the game. What you think about this game that's going to happen on Saturday against Colorado Springs, and what you think on the team in general. Is it fulfilling your expectations, or are there some things that you feel are still lacking? I really want to know. I really want to know what the fan base in the Rio Grande Valley thinks. This is your team. This is your show. This is a voice for the fans of the Rio Grande Valley. And that's what I want you all to understand, that this isn't just me talking. This is a gateway for the fans to participate and show their love for the team. So be sure to also check out our friends at the Beautiful Game Network. Follow them on Twitter at the BGNFM. Check out their website at bgn.fm, where you'll find other USL podcasts like the USL Show, Play the Kids, Backchat Show, Rising as One, and other really awesome USL podcasts. So check them out. Check out also their sponsor, which is Roughneck Scarves, the official scarf supplier of the USL, MLS, and NCAA. It can also do custom scarves. And speaking of scarves, hopefully in the future, if you guys are listening to this on the podcast, in the future we hope to have scarves designed that are Down in the Valley specific and I'll be taking I've posted pictures on Twitter already, but I'll go ahead and post them again. I'll post the actual winning design, so that way you're interested. I'll be taking in the future pre-orders for those scarves, and that way I can have them ordered and created. So that way you guys can have a little piece of Down in the Valley merchandise in your possession. So having said this, thank you all for tuning in this week. And until next week, we are Toros, somos Toros, and obviously forever orange. So I leave you all with the Edson Ochoa interview. Bye.
Last night's game, you guys had a 2-0 lead. What happened?
Gave it away. I thought that we were managing the game relatively well. I think once we went up 2-0, similar to last week when we went up, we just keeping possession of the ball, knowing that we had to make extra runs, extra movements to keep the ball, being calmer, composed on the ball. That just didn't happen. And so as they went to 3-5-2, they spread us out, and there were a lot of holes for us to, even when we had the ball to keep. But then we're just flying forward, and a little bit of youthful, just a little immaturity and not knowing how to manage the game, and just guys just running on their own, trying to take 1 on 3 or 4, and then manage the game as well. The fight was there, the work rate was there, the desire, everything, which is something that we've been asking for. So we're looking at now. It's the being smarter, being a little bit clever, being savvier, and maybe we have 2 or 3 guys that have the maturity, just soccer maturity right now, to be able to manage those games, and some that need to acquire it. And unfortunately, guys, that's not something that really we can work on down there. We can do it's called father time. It's just time at that level, because they're able to run by, in college some of these guys were able to run by and get the extra goal, or just being physically so much stronger. Well, now you have some mature guys that are just as strong and knew they were calm, they didn't panic, and it showed the level of maturity from them to ours.
You talked a lot about defending set pieces, and that was how they got one back against you. What was the breakdown there?
The breakdown was the referee. Our guy was in front of the ball. The referee told them they had to move, although they didn't ask for 10. So as our guy moved, they played it quickly and kind of off balance. So I can't really get upset at my guys when the referee is telling our guys to move and lets them play early. Caught us off guard. So I don't really count it. I mean, I count the fact that we give up the goal, but that puts you in a difficult, because we're trying to organize ourselves. That's the reason you stand in front of the ball. And if he asks you to move, you got to play the whistle. And so I think that maybe he made a mistake on that. So, but hey, listen, we have to be better and we have to be alert. But that's tough to get upset at them when if he doesn't move, and the guy who's there was Gigi, gets another yellow, and then that's a red, so he has to move. So it puts us in a not an easy spot for him. So.
What about on the equalizer? It looked like the ball didn't bounce the way Donovan expected it.
No, I think the ball hit. I mean, he went to swing instead of just making contact. I think he swung, and once it's a deflection, it's difficult for a goalkeeper to react, and caught him off balance, caught him off guard. Which actually the first goal also caught him off balance. I think he slipped on it, and that's why he wasn't able to get it. So, it is what it is.
Talk about Aldo Quintanilha's performance. He made his debut tonight. He had an assist. He created some chances. Talk about his performance, please.
It's great. I mean, he created a PK too. So it's. I mean, we knew what it was. We saw him at the tryouts. So he's a local kid. We saw him at the tryouts, and he caught. I mean, he caught my eye. He caught all of our eyes, and we gathered and said, "There's something there." He wasn't in the best shape when we saw him. He looked a little more like me than he does now, and so. But he's been working so hard, just getting after it. Obviously, last week when we were hoping to have him on the day, on our home opener, there were some issues with his paperwork still, but he has been very dangerous. He has been working his butt off, and I think he had a very good game. He had an impact on the game, and we were ecstatic with him. Obviously, he's maybe he could have gotten a little more, but we knew that fitness-wise, he still needs some work, but he's a handful.
And talk about the two other local guys that you had starting tonight, and Ontiveros and Garza. How did they perform?
I thought they did very well. Ontiveros is just solid. I mean, he's been right now. I mean, we have 4 center backs that it's an issue to see who's going to start and who's going to be the other backup, and whoever we leave on the stands is just today we left Castellanos we didn't roster him, and he was with the first team, and Wilmer was delighted and ecstatic with him. So it just gives you that. Omar's been very solid coming out of the back playing. He's so technical. He reads it. He's good on the tackle. I thought he had a very good game. And then Garza, just that experience, when we talked about some of the guys who have that experience, he's one of the guys. He wasn't dazzle, he wasn't frazzle, he was composed, good on the ball. Maybe a couple opportunities we were hoping that maybe he could have done, got away and stuff. But I was delighted overall with our performance. I was very happy with the guys. Obviously, that first goal, the way it happened, I think it deflated us, and it's like the first 5 minutes after a goal, it's crucial, and we gave up 2 in the last 10 minutes. So it's 2 minutes left. We have to figure out a way to manage the game, and we again, everything we've been kind of harping on and working is getting a little bit better. Just hoping it's at a faster rate, and I mean, we're not hitting the panic button. Okay, we haven't lost. We got 2 points, and I think in both games, if anything, I feel good about us being the ones, the initiators. We score first. We were making the game, and it's just when we score, we seem to panic. So I don't know. So 3 goals in 2 games. I think that's a little bit better than that we were asking for an improvement. And some of the guys that were here previously were asking about, hey, we need to improve scoring more per game. And so hey, we had 1 last week. We scored 2 this time. Maybe we need 3 or 4 to be able to pull it off. So I don't know.
Did you think